Welcome to Pricing. This is Mark Spielis. In this podcast, I'm going to connect pricing to the 4 P's of marketing and our marketing strategy. Through this podcast, we're also going to discuss some concepts that impact pricing and impact pricing in a marketing environment. So when we refer to pricing, pricing is what consumers are willing to give up in that exchange for a product or a service, right? So we're constantly, as marketers, trying to determine what that price point is that we can create an exchange with our customers with. So when we look at pricing is part of our marketing mix, and we utilize pricing to create this relationship with our target market to create a better exchange with our target market. We've had no better example in recent history as we have had with COVID-19 on pricing and the impacts of supply and demand. So when we look back to COVID-19 as well as government policy, we see the impact of stimulus and how stimulus stimulated demand for products. It also impacted our currency. So as a result of the stimulus and government spending, it devalued our currency. Thus, it's created inflation. Thus, it impacts our pricing. Government lockdowns during the pandemic also impacted our labor force. So as a result of the lockdowns, it constrained the supply of labor force. Thus, it constrained the supply of products and services. So when you look at pricing is impacted by 3 elements: demand, supply, as well as the cost of products. And what we see today is the increasing cost of product. The producer price index continues to go up. All right, so we have an increase in the cost of the products, also a decrease in the supply of products, partially due to our labor force and our supply chain disruptions. Thus, that's why we're seeing inflation today. You often hear the term elasticity of demand in marketing. And what this term means is how responsive they are to changes in price. So as prices go up, or prices go down, how sensitive are consumers to those changes in price? So when we refer to elastic demand, this means consumers are very sensitive to changes in price. So when prices go up, consumers are generally going to buy less, right? Because they're sensitive to that price increase. So demand goes down. An example of that are avocados. Not everybody needs avocados. As prices go up, consumers are sensitive. So that's referred to as elastic demand. Compared to inelastic demand, and consumer demand is generally not impacted by an increase or a decrease in price. These are products that we need every single day, like fuel, like milk. These are products we need in our daily life. So we don't generally change our buying habits when there's elastic demand. All right, so milk would be an example of that. As milk goes up or fuel oil goes up, the demand for those products is essentially unchanged. So let's look at this graphically. And what I have here is a graph that graphs out our marketing output. And this would really be our demand as well as our price. And in neutral demand, that's what we're seeing here is neutral demand, as pricing goes up. So this would be pricing going up in a moderate level. We see that market output goes down, right? So this is neutral compared to elastic demand. In elastic demand, our prices go up moderately, but then our market output or our demand goes down significantly here. Okay, so that's elastic demand. Small increase in price, but our demand goes down significantly. And the reference I used earlier, the example was avocados. And this compares to inelastic demand. And in this case, we see a huge price increase, like fuel, right? Fuel went from $2 a gallon, and now it's $5.25 when I drove up here today. But market output, it remains unchanged. We continue to need fuel, right, to get around and move around. Generally, that the output is really not changed. We may not take a vacation or drive drive somewhere that we didn't plan on going to, but we still have to get to work. We still have to get to school. All right. So this would be the different types of demand. Knowing how to price our product, we should understand the relationship to pricing, to the type of product we're offering, to how it affects demand. In the words of Michael J. Scott, more money, more problems. All right, but we have no problems here because we're going to choose the right pricing strategy based on our goals. Okay, so pricing strategy isn't something we just come up with. Pricing strategy is aligned with our marketing goals, our business plan. Okay, now it may change because of inflation or cost of products, and it also changes based on the product life cycle. So perhaps as we're introducing products, we want to come into a market with lower cost products to gain market share of our products. So our pricing strategy is, first of all, part of our positioning strategy, how we want to position our products. It could be dependent on the product life cycle, but it's certainly part of our marketing mix. So when we look at our marketing mix, it's part of our marketing mix, and it complements our positioning strategy, how we position our product, how we promote our product, and perhaps where we sell it at as well. All right, so when we look at marketing pricing, as I stated earlier, it's part of positioning as well. So it's not just the pricing, it's how we position products. So as you can see here, we have generic products, which are low price, are generally commoditized compared to differentiated products, which are unique, that customers are willing to pay more for, thus they have higher price. So some examples of that might be Tesla. Consumers over the years have been willing to pay more for Tesla vehicles compared to Kia, that are low-end, generic, more commoditized, and they're lower costs than their counterparts, especially compared to Tesla. All right, so with pricing, there's generally three approaches that we can take in our pricing strategy. All right, so let's look at those three approaches. The first is price skimming. I'm going to go through each one of these: penetration pricing, and lastly, status quo pricing. All right, so price skimming. When we look at price skimming, generally for new products, okay, and new products that have a unique advantage. So these are products that are new to the market. Perhaps the market has not seen these types of products before. They have a unique advantage, and we're able to offer a higher price. Price skimming, I think of skimming the cream off the top, right? So we're able to skim the cream off the top. We're able to increase the price for our products because they have some sort of unique advantage to our products that consumers are willing to pay for. We see this a lot with technology products, and they fall again in this higher price, but they have to be differentiated. Okay, so when we look at the positioning strategy, differentiated products, thus we're able to offer a higher price for our product. All right, back in the 1990s, Netflix introduced the subscription model. And that subscription model penetrated the DVD market, okay? So going back to the 90s into the 2000s, they had a new market based on the subscription model that they produced. They went after higher volumes and a lower price. All right, so this is all part of what we refer to as penetration pricing. So Netflix they successfully penetrated the market with their subscription model. They had higher volumes, lower price, thus a lot of the DVD and the video stores were not able to compete with them. We see this again being penetration pricing going on with streaming services today. So streaming services today are another example of penetration pricing. You have Netflix, Disney, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, all trying to offer lower cost subscription pricing to gain market share. Okay, so the goal here is to generate higher levels of market share. Another type of pricing strategy is called status quo pricing. We see this somewhat in the energy drink market. And status quo pricing is when you go in, you see generally the pricing is about the same, not enough generally to make you want to buy a certain product because it's less, maybe by a dime or by 20 cents. So status quo pricing Generally, your energy drinks are all around the same price. We also see this with bottled water, Aquafina, and all the bottled waters. When you go to purchase them, with the exception of maybe Smart Water, their pricing is fairly similar, right? Aquafina adjusts its pricing based on what's offered by the competition. They're trying to stay relatively close to the competition. So those are our three types of pricing strategies a company will engage in their marketing of products. This ends the podcast on pricing. Hopefully you're able to garner some ideas in regards to pricing and elasticity and how elasticity demand impacts our pricing, as well as some pricing strategies that you might employ relative to your product. So this is Mark Spielis. Thanks for joining me. Make it a great day.